All right, if you're a creator, you know this feeling deep in your gut. You just poured hours, maybe even days into your latest video. You finally hit that upload button, you're watching the progress bar, and then bam, there it is, that dreaded flag. And you know what? That's not some person on the other end flagging your work. Nope. That's a massive, fully automated system that completely changed how the internet works. It's called Content ID. And its story? Well, it's one of the most important and craziest stories in the entire history of digital databases. All right, so let's get into it. You got to go back to 2007. YouTube was the Wild West, and they had a massive problem on their hands. Copyright infringement was everywhere. Their solution? They built this incredibly high-tech, powerful database, and they called it Content ID.
But here's the thing you have to understand, and this is so important. Content ID, it wasn't really built for creators like you and me. Its main purpose was to appease the big players. We're talking major movie studios, giant record labels. It was designed to be a tool for them to automatically police their stuff across the entire globe, instantly.
So if we're going to get how big of a deal this thing became, we first need to pop the hood and see how this digital detective actually works. And it's wild because it's both super clever and, at its core, incredibly simple. Okay, so the magic behind it all is something called fingerprinting. It's a great name for it, actually. Basically, every single audio and video file gets turned into its own unique digital code. It's a signature that's as distinct as your own fingerprint. And that's what lets the database tell one file from another with just mind-blowing accuracy. And the process is just a simple three-step dance. First, a rights holder, say a music label, uploads their song. That's the reference file. Then, Content ID's job is to scan every single video that gets uploaded, looking for a match to that fingerprint. And if it finds one, boom, the system automatically slaps on whatever policy the rights holder decided on. No human involved at all. And when I say policy, I mean it can get pretty rough. The system can just straight up block your video from being seen, sometimes worldwide. It can take over the monetization, so every penny your video earns goes straight to the rights holder instead of you, or it can just mute the audio, leaving you with a silent movie. Okay, so now we get to why this whole thing became so controversial. And to do that, we have to talk about scale. Because the size of this operation, it's just staggering. We're not talking about some small-time operation here. This is literally one of the biggest automated policing forces on the entire planet. So get this, over 9,000 partners are plugged into this thing. We're talking pretty much every major studio, every publisher, every music label you've ever heard of. They're all using this database to hunt for their content. And what about the number of videos? Just try to wrap your head around this. The system has scanned more than 800 million videos. It never sleeps. It's just constantly churning, constantly matching, 24/7 all over the world. And the money? Oh, the money. We're talking billions of dollars with a B, billions in ad revenue that have been automatically rerouted from creators to these big rights holders, all thanks to this one database. It's this huge economic engine that runs entirely on code. But you know what they say? With great power comes great problems. And this is where our story takes a turn. It stops being about a cool tech marvel and starts being a huge cautionary tale about what happens when you unleash a system this powerful without thinking through all the consequences. And this right here, this gets to the absolute core of the problem. You see, the database, it's kind of dumb. It only asks one simple binary question. Does the fingerprint match? That's it. It has zero concept of context. It doesn't know what fair use is. It can't tell if you're making a parody or a critique or a review. To the system, it's all just data. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? The database didn't ask, is this fair use? It only asked, does it match? And just like that, this entire super important legal idea of fair use, which is like the foundation of so much creativity online, it got boiled down to a simple and way too often a totally wrong matching game. And the things that got flagged, it was just absurd. I mean, we're talking about classical music that's in the public domain. It belongs to everybody. The system was claiming the sound of a fan, just white noise. It flagged birdsong, someone recorded in a park. It even, and I am not making this up, claimed minutes of pure, dead silence. And the craziest part?
It would flag creators for using their own original music. The system was eating itself.
And this created a massive power imbalance, right? On one side, you have a small creator, and on the other, you have this giant, faceless, automated system. Trying to appeal a claim felt like, well, it felt like arguing with a brick wall. A really confusing, slow brick wall that had total control over your video and your ability to make a living.
So, what do we learn from all this? I mean, what are the big takeaways from this huge chapter in the history of databases? At the end of the day, this whole story is a giant warning sign about what can go wrong when we build automated systems that have real power over real people. And these are the lessons we had to learn the hard way. Things like an automated system has to be smart enough to tell the difference between owning something and just using it. The appeals process needs to be transparent, not just another robot you have to fight. And maybe the biggest lesson of all, fair use is a legal judgment. It requires a human brain. It's not something you can just hand off to a database and hope for the best.
Which really brings us to the big, final question that this whole story leaves us with. As we keep building more and more of these powerful automated systems to run parts of our lives, we have to ask ourselves, who gets to be the judge? Who decides what's creative and what isn't? A person or just a database?